And now, after a stretch break and a refreshment break, let's conclude tonight's workshop with a live exercise of the concepts that we have discussed. This is as participatory as any of you may want it to be. We're going to open this up, and we're going to open this up. Yep, she's going to get painted up for Iron Chef Lord, Tony Karlstrom. I have a color palette and such, and I think I'll be painting her up. I'll start painting her on Saturday as we have our recap, our hangout time, or giveaway, or whatever else. All right. So with all that we have discussed in the core rulebook, the storytelling suggestions, the references, things to consider at what may or may not be appropriate for your table. Let's pretend that you are a newcomer to storytelling. You have an idea in mind. You want to run this. You say, you know what, Matt, gall darn it, and you watch your language. You early 19 or whatever. You early 20th century prospector or late 19th century prospector. Gall darn it. Conflab it. You want to get this idea out of your head. You want to plan for a story, but also allow for things to be flexible, to improv. Maybe you want to use milestones. How do you do that? Well, you talked with your friends. They made characters. You talked about the setting, the things that we have reviewed. And now you got to get your ideas organized. How can you do that in a world? How can you make your own kind of epic, three-part, three-act story, rising action story, whatever you want to do? Maybe you've never done it before. You're scared. You need someone to hold their hand, but you haven't bought them a dinner yet. Because, that should be censored. That's lewd. Let's walk through some discussions and exercises. Ooh, this is very intense. I want something a little less intense than this. Hold on a moment. We're going to do this. We're going to try this instead. There we go. Well, what if I told you that our players have done a ton of work for us? We pitched an idea. We said, use this book to make your character, and let's go with it. Your friends or family members each made their own character, and that was reflected in last week's workshops. Came back and said, here you go, sir or ma'am, here is my sheet, and what do you think? Did I do it correctly? I didn't break any rules, did I? And you go, No, it looks good, And secretly, we were making notes off of everyone's sheet about mechanics and maybe balancing something and finding their weaknesses and ways to inspire and challenge them. That was part of the exercises that we did in the last round. That was the crunch. What about the fluff? What about the story that we wish to tell? We know that we want it to take place in so-and-so and have access to this. We did everything by the book, but we don't have a story. Maybe we need help deciding it. Okay, then. Now, in another exercise that we do, I have something a little bit more formal written out for this. I want to show just off the cuff. We're going to do this. I want one... All right, what do I have? For characters 1 through 4, can we find one piece of information that might give us something interesting to latch them into the setting or to develop the setting around the character? And why would we do it either way? Our character is either a product of the environment or our character is actively working in the environment. Either way, there's an interaction. And so if you want there to be attention to what's happening, if you want there to be some sort of feeling of belonging, then you can find at least one thing. You can find one aspect of this. So let's take a look. We have our hunter, our first character. Okay? In fact, we can even say this. Hunter Duelist 1, Duelist 2, and Icon. Now, I would go by the character names, so that is further ingrained into your mind, and you can address the characters by character. So let's take a look at our first character here. We have a hunter who is a wise archetype, whose profession is crime, background is art lover, is making stealing cars a form of art. We have, by the way, all of these characters are younger characters. This is like something out of a manga or an anime or like a JRPG. We have like a young, we have the Boxcar Kids, I was calling it, a lot of other things to try and relate to young heroes, as that is what was randomly rolled. We have a team of teenagers. All right. What do you know about our hunter? Motivations. You're driven by the desire for sex and are always looking for opportunities. Now, we randomly rolled age, if you don't just buy that high schoolers are asking these questions or looking for companionship, either meaningful or a fling, adjust as you will. We went by the book and randomly rolled. So whatever. We have our car thief is trying to impress someone or someone's, and if not looking for the physical activity, is at least looking for a relationship through it, or is trying to socially, be the alpha of a group or be seen as some desirous person. Take it where you will from there. If you just go off of anything that's written, I don't know, you might say, I don't like it, or you know what, I can really relate because I remember high school and that's all I thought about, or whatever. Make it personal, make it impersonal, whatever you want. But we know that we have someone who is very much into social jockeying, trying to get attention, affection, maybe love, or even trying to, confusing what love is. These are story elements. So you know what? That could even be some sort of coming of age. You actually learn what a fulfilling relationship could be. So why don't we put that down? Or if not coming of age, just finding maturity. How about that? His attachment is to his hometown. People become attached to the place where they grew up and strongly identify with it. Now, if this is more of an urban environment, then we know a setting prompt is for our car thief. So we'll just call this the big city. I don't know what it is. We were role-playing, having an idea for a location or something. That could be filled in, but I want to exercise the prompt. I want to exercise the ability to draw these aspects out from something you didn't even provide. That in our concept, Someone else wrote all this for you. You're just making a note of it. We have some quirky mannerism. We didn't figure out exactly what it is. We could roll for it or come up with it. He is brave but inconsiderate, and he sees himself as a creator of artist, a creator of opportunity. Maybe in a sense, after going through this phase of life, he finds that maturity and goes on, and he has a family, and he turns into a family man who can reflect back on his brash youth and say, yeah, you know what? I stole cars. I was trying to show off. I didn't meet your mom until after I went through that phase in my life. And maybe, so he carries that creation in a different direction later in life, but it is still a line through our character. It's consistent. So as for an NPC, I most likely, because it sounded like when we were creating him that he's more of a loner, like he wants to show off to people. But for someone who's not entirely we probably have a love/love interest. That could be someone who's compelling in our story and in our setting. Now, what about an antagonist? Is this the big bad evil guy? The maximum ultimate villain of badness? It doesn't have to be, it could. This could also be a rival. Someone who just gets in the way. Someone who's always out to challenge this character. So we might actually have a rival in affection for NPC. We're populating our world. We're making this work. If you want this to be, I don't know, like the school fighters, that trope in anime and manga, where everyone's in high school and they all have like godly powers. And, you know, even the teachers in the city and the national government report to the student council of so-and-so high school, you know, so-and-so holy academy or whatever. Fine, play it up. This is an action movie. This is supposed to just be fun or ridiculous. Or you're playing the young protagonists who start as the sons and daughters of farmers in the countryside, and you go on to overthrow God like you do in JRPGs or whatever, right? Have fun with it. Lean into fun tropes. Find ways to develop the characters. Anyway, let's keep the exercise moving. All right, what is... there might be better things that you see on their character sheets than what I'm pointing out. I'm just keeping this going. We have a charming duelist who has learned self-reliance, substance, who offers investigative services. So kind of a Detective Conan from, again, manga or anime. Someone who can fight but tries to get away, tries to, trip or disable or something along those lines. We have someone who's not necessarily violent. Someone who can live out in the woods, has a camping kit and a small remote cabin. So in that case, let's look at our equipment. It's probably not carried, but we can put that as something in the setting. We have a cabin outside the big city. Faith. You're a committed member of your faith and seek to uphold its value at all times. And we've joined an organization that comes with an emotional attachment, especially with long-term membership. Okay, well, this could be someone who's inspiring. We do have a religious faith. Our motivation is faith. We are attached to an organization. Now, that you could find an antagonist in there. I would say for our first duelist, this is providing more benefit in this regard. So let's say that for our duelist here, we have a religious mentor or guide. Welcome back, Hero Dragon. Now, who might be an enemy? Well, let's see. We have someone who at a very young age here, because he is, what, 13? Yeah, he's 13. He's tolerant but dour. He does see what he does as an art as well. Someone who has learned to live on his own. If he has his own cabin, maybe did something happen to his parents? What if there's an outside group? There's an enemy of the faith who would be an antagonist to him. Someone who took or compromised his parents, forcing him to grow up in this more lonely, if not organization, like this environment. Now, what about a story element? Our first character, we can have elements of a fulfilling relationship, finding maturity, finding love as it might exist as a high schooler. A story element here might be challenging faith. Now, if you want if you or the player, and especially the player, as this would be his or her character, want to take this into the descent into edgy nihilism and atheism, nothing really matters, and this character becomes a pizza cutter, all edge, no point. That could be a character arc, a story element, the loss of faith. We're 13, we're questioning a lot about ourselves, if not physically or mentally. What about emotionally? Do we start wearing the baggy Jinko jeans, and all of a sudden we have a chain on our wallet, and then we start wearing the black eyeliner makeup, and then we say, well, we were faithful, but we're not a dumb kid anymore. We're just resentful and spiteful, so we reject God or anything else like that. Maybe whether or not I described any of you, people you know, or this is absolutely a fictional effigy style character, there's still a concept of challenging faith, and maybe there is no faith, there is no true God, or by having your faith challenged, you are stronger in your faith having come out of that trial or tribulation. But either way, whether we become an edgy, angsty atheist at 14 or 15, but we're deeply religious now, we can have a story element of challenging our faith in something that kept us from a very terrible mindset when we were younger, and we had a less of an understanding of things. Boom! Was that deep? I thought we were just supposed to have dumb little Sentai Power Ranger episodes and not get into things. And yet, look at this. Look at what someone else gave us, this piece of paper, and look at what we've been able to draw from it. And what about accepting violence? Right now, we try to be a non-lethal character. A scamp. Just someone who goes around and investigates. What if this leads us into some darker path where we start actually sticking them with the pointy end? We don't want to, we know how to, and we've really tried not to. Is this a Batman thing? Do we become the Batman? The Batmans, even? Do we become the Batmans? Alright, what about our second duelist? She is a counselor, at least among her friends by profession, an immigrant background. Ah, excellent. Something in the setting. There is a country outside the home country, or if not, the setting country. Excellent. This automatically pulls this character into the world and makes her a part of it. She's a part of the setting country, though has come from this outside. Is there a war going on? Could it be something around love or religion? I don't know. Let's find out. Let's keep asking these questions. Is some sort of an important NPC? Well, we have an iconic piece of equipment, flag from a swearing-in ceremony. We carry ourselves with a sense of maturity for our age. She's 16, but she's trying to be the mature one. She's trying to be the leader of the Boxcar Kids or whatever. She's experienced, but she's also very lazy. She sees what she does also as an art. There's some sort of an artist here at work. Friendship. You'll do anything for your friends and live for their companionship. Attachment. Pet. Many people have a strong bond with their pets or other animals that they care for. And by the way, the animal for the hunter and the pet, like not just the side hunter, could end up being NPCs or something else. Or the whole time it was a god watching them from the pantheon. Or if you want this to be monotheistic in our real world. Like Tony was saying, hell, have this set in Nebraska. If you want this in modern-day Nebraska, set it in modern-day Nebraska. If you want this actually in a far-flung fantasy world, where people still do swing swords, as also they shoot machine guns, like a Final Fantasy VII thing. Sure, why not? Have fun. You're here for fun, right? You know what we do to people who don't like having... No, I'm just kidding. Let's get out of that pessimistic mode, right? Let's break out of that. There's so much destruction and terrible things that have come out of that kind of behavior online. We'll make fun of it because activity and carrying yourself like that should be shamed, and you should be more thoughtful in how you carry yourself. So, you'll do anything for your friends and live for their companionship. So we have been sworn in, we've received an education in some way. We carry ourselves with maturity. We carry ourselves in this, in a very empathic way. Able to, okay. So with this outset, we ask ourselves what is good and what is bad. That we've most likely seen someone who is bad, because we would seek what is good, because we have seen an example of something that is evil, at least to this person, in her understanding of the world. So as an antagonist, this could even be maybe the ruler of her home country was evil. Now that she's here, she's trying to be, she's better, she can talk to people, she carries empathy, and she doesn't want to see her homeland slip into what it was that she left. Oh, that can work. So we'll say evil leader of home country. Now, as for an NPC, this could be someone, maybe someone in faith, in government, or someone in the neighborhood, just a neighbor, who really accepted her. Some sort of maybe a... So if we do this, we have a religious guide, and the guide is going to ask more for compliance than a mentor, who will instead be teaching. So let's... Pardon me, sorry. And these are exercises, by the way, that the GM can just sit down and talk with the players. Or if you want to, sit and extract the information yourself. We'll say that she had a language and culture mentor. Now she does live. She probably lives in the city. Duelist, charming, yeah, counselor, immigrant, in the big city. All right, and then what about what's a story element? Well, let's see. She's lazy. She's experienced. She does step up. She'll bully people who are bullying her friends. What if she does this because she cares more about others' feelings than her own? And so she needs to learn to actually come to terms with her own feelings and accept herself. I think we actually rolled that she's a bigger girl, too. Let's see, 5'1", 125. Or was this the last one that we rolled? 5'4", 174. Okay. So what if she's more concerned about other people than herself? So we can call this self-acceptance, or even a notion of self-love. Can she learn to love herself? She's been, thrown out of her home country. She's been through all this. She wants people to get along. She's this counselor. But this hasn't instilled an acceptance of things, because sometimes she's seeking, well, what is good and what's bad? Is everything gray? There is an acceptance. You can accept that things are bad. You can accept that things are good. And some things are a mix. Faiths or politics, there's measures of good and bad, and people will view it and take it differently as well. So what if for her, as the 16-year-old leader of the group here, she needs to learn about herself. She's so personally unmotivated. That's what's making her lazy. And she needs to realize how much she can actually do if she applied it and didn't just sit and wait for things to happen to her. To manage. But that's how she draws her raison d'etre, is, I don't like what's happening, but if I don't manage something, I feel like I'll spiral out of control. Boom. A story element. All right, now, final character. We have our icon here, another very charismatic character, charming character. She is an orphan who is very outdoorsy. Okay. Camping kit like the other. Some sort of parental keepsake as an iconic piece of equipment. Creation, you're driven to create art, inventions, or organizations. She also has joined an organization. Comes with an emotional attachment, especially with long-term membership. She believes in logic, not so much a statement of belief as methodology. So what if here, pardon me, an antagonist for her is actually a member of the faith/organization. So she was brought in as an orphan, but she has grown up already rejecting it and saying, no, this isn't right. This doesn't work. Now, this creates an interesting combo effect with the other, who has accepted the religion and has accepted the teachings. But maybe to her, someone here is her enemy. Dire or lesser? I don't know. We have an antagonist. We have a rival. We have someone who is actually in the faith or this organization that she is a part of as an orphan, but she does not like this person. This person baffles her, prevents her from achieving what she wants. So the organization is the antagonist here. We're driven to create art, inventions, or organizations. Now she's tied with our... No, our car thief is younger. That's the player. Oh, I kept that open for if we have to make any comparisons to things. You're driven to create... Okay. What would be something for the setting? It could be... Well, in this case, the setting could end up being the orphanage/organization. We don't have that as any... the emphasis on it as a setting. What about an NPC that exists? Someone had to teach us how to live outdoors and how to do this. So we probably have... And if we don't want to make it an interpersonal connection, we have... Tracker, lead by example, and Harrier. Survivor, tracker, improved influence. We're a leader in our own way. We tend to be lonesome. So someone who would have inspired her. Oh, so how about a character from a book slash movie. So not even a real person in this setting. Someone that she read about. Someone that inspired her to keep on moving. So she's not very well book read. It doesn't mean that she still can't be inspired by someone or the concept of a person who's not in this organization anyway. And so so by having a fictional inspiration, boom, there's more of a culture. This place might have comics or movies or other things, and that's a whole other thing, device for writing or storytelling that we can employ too. Now, what about a story element? Well, we have someone who is growing up to be that jaded loner. She'll work with people, but that's more, by being in a pack, I'm going to be less likely to be singled out. So she'll step up, she'll try and draw attention. She is strong, by the way. She does have a bodily presence. She, I believe, is the strongest of the four of them. And we were talking, Belladonna was in chat, and I asked her if she's like the strong sister from Encanto. Louisa, was it? Was it Louisa, if any of you know? So a story element in this case that could be different. What is something we can learn? What is something compelling? Something that we can talk about? Creation. You're driven to create art, inventions, or organizations. What about not just, what about earning leadership? Our Duelist 2 will tell you that she is the leader. And people, the others, probably just accept it because she can manage emotion and do this other stuff. She's the oldest of the four. Hi, Lucius. Though I think that character, with that kind of self-acceptance, it's going to be a humbling moment. And in this case, our rough and tumble one is going to earn leadership. And everyone will actually see her as the leader. And that could cause conflict, and that's also an amazing story element for growth. All right, now what do we do with this? We have drawn some inspiration that we can play with. Let's plot it out. All right, how are we going to plot this out? I am going to tell you by redirecting this showing. Why can't paint show up on OBS? Okay. And I totally meant... One moment, everyone. That. We come back up here. Why is everything going to heck? HECC heck. Hold on a moment, everyone. I don't know what this is, the screen then? And then we just put paint up. And we go okay. And we have main screen turn on. All right. You can't see me and I can't see you. We can change that a bit. All right, that's a little bit better. Let's get creative. How can we take elements of what we just did through this practice, because some people might be more visual, and plot it out in a storyline? As often, and not everyone may, but often we have these like cool, all right, this is how the story is going to begin, and this is the fiery climax. There's the helicopters everywhere, and the dragons are going roar, and this is happening. And that's even at the opening. That's not even how things are going to end when the kids from the farmland are going to overthrow God or whatever, right? Those are often the powerful moments. I suggest open up Paint, do something simple. What is our opener? Well, from the things that we've been able to draw inspiration from, we have it over here. Although, oh, that's why. We have it over here. If we've been calling them the Boxcar Kids, there's a very good chance that all of them were actually going to be starting outside of the city. And we need to go inside the city for some reason. So let's make a note. We start in the cabin in the woods. And if you want to do this by level and you want to do it by milestone, you can have each of these be a milestone too. Pretty easy to do. There's only 10 levels in Everyday Heroes, so you could break it up into sub-levels, make it as easy or complicated as you want, or just start putting down ideas. We're going to focus on ideas at this point, and maybe it'll turn into milestones. Let's not overcomplicate things. So we have our characters who end up... They are runaways. Let's do this. I'll put it down here. Runaways that find and occupy a cabin that was filled with whatever, bad guys. We can go and replace words later. I'm not too worried about the specifics right now. I need to make the font larger. Or not. Okay, Paint, whatever. And then by the end, in order to try and resolve this, in order to try and find things, we have a, I don't know, set an arbitrary point. Reformation of the organization after the bad guy, all capital words, after the bad guy is ousted. And then that command was up here. All right. Now, we have these as ideas. Are they the ultimate ideas? Are they, is this the true beginning and end? I don't know. Let's fill this in. Where do we get from one point to the next? I'm not worried about rising action. I'm not worried about 3 acts. I'm worried about a series of events that's going to carry us on a story. What is something that happens right here in the middle? Where do we go from kids maybe running away from the big city, from the organization, and they find the cat, they clear it out of some baddies, and they claim it for themselves. They're using that as their boxcar base of operations to investigate and to do these things that they're good at doing. Well, a good solid point may very well be the tip-off that the organization is bad. Who is it? We don't know yet. We ran away from it. Maybe we end up going back to it, and it's there that we find out that the organization is bad, but not in the ways that our young heroes originally thought. But yeah, maybe that's the case. So survival, let's do this. Let's find another midpoint. And I'm only worried about 1 point at a time. 1 midpoint at a time. Let's not get ahead of ourselves. So if the first part is opening up with us in the woods and learning to live there and harvesting this or befriending squirrels so a deranged hermit doesn't carry us off and turn us into a male drow warlock with a fun, quirky, is deeply impatient. We're going to do this. Here's this midpoint. And we say that we need to go back to the city. We need to rescue a friend in the city. Good call, good call. Now, that will take us back into the city. Maybe a little bit. We go back and forth, but then we're going to get a tip-off later. I'm not worried about that. What's next? What happens, and any of you out there, I can come up with something, but if you all have an idea, what happens exactly between us being tipped off that the organization is bad to the reformation of the organization after the bad guy is ousted? That sentence is implying that we learn that the organization actually isn't bad, but there was a bad person running it or facilitating it or whatever was happening. What is the midpoint between us in the city getting a tip that the organization, and now we're having to go back there more than we've been in the woods to begin with, to the Reformation? Well, if we bring up, we have love interests, a religious guide, something can happen. What if this religious guide for Duelist 1 is actually caught in the mix to Duelist 1? Might be killed. In fact, maybe that's the tip-off. Not only to that conclusion, but in our icon here, maybe coming to earn that leadership in the face of losing faith, that could facilitate a lot of things. And this is dramatic. That can take place in an action movie as well. We have the death of religious mentor by BBEG. If you don't like this, we can change it. If you love it, guess what? You can keep it. Ooh. I'm spilling all the beans. All the beans. All right, now what do? Let's come back here. And we say, let's use dark green, okay? What happens midway between runaways clearing out a cabin of animals are like low-level bad guys. That's a good first-level adventure. To rescuing a friend in the city. Well, something needs to lead us back to the city, or that we learn that the friend is in trouble. Okay. This could even be something of ousting the entire gang and not just those who are in the cabin, or we find that the cabin is a hunting accident, so they have to go into the city to try and get care and supplies or something. That could work. All right. There is, and if not an accident to a character, there could be some kind of natural disaster, like an avalanche or a landslide, if you want to specifically reference rules in this book. But let's say that there's some sort of disaster strikes. This is a good general note for us.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
That's a lot of months.
Very much so, Sierra. And thank you for all of them and for the more in the future that I hope to that I hope to continue earning that consideration from you. So disaster strikes, forced to flee. That could even be deeper into the woods. And then they learn something further into the woods. I'm getting ahead of myself, but you see where this is going. Now let's ask ourselves, what's the halfway point? One point at a time. I'm not worried about anything else. What happens between rescuing a friend in the city, so we're presuming that they do this. This is the halfway point. To the tip-off that the organization is bad. Well, now let's go here and say that the halfway point here is friend is part of organization and friend is part of organization. Or if we want to introduce, we have a possible international, not just country versus city. It could be country versus country. We could have a bigger event. Let's say this. War between countries heightens with soldiers spotted in forest. So they're still spending time out there, and they actually come across these foreign soldiers out there, and that could cause a battle or some sort of peril where they're trying to kidnap the kids to keep them from telling someone in the city, or something happens and they need to go to the organization. Maybe they see people from the city or the home country trying to negotiate, and they say, oh, we need to go to a third party. Well, the only one I know is the organization. You know, they might know what to do if they are positioned as wise people or leaders or, you know, or faith. And maybe the faith is even shared in some way, whether it's both are Orthodox, one is Orthodox, one's a Reformed, or whoever else. But then this is introducing that element, and that's when this breaks out. All right, awesome. Now we come over here, and I need to know the halfway point between the tip-off that the organization is bad and maybe because they've been infiltrated by the enemy country. And so the organization might be getting the soldiers in and overlooking it, and if it weren't for those kids, Oh, you see how this is building? Hi, Bane. It's 30 seconds. I'm sure a couple people could, Bane. Do you see where this exercise is going? Only worry about the midpoint between what happens. And for all I know, this is everything that happens between level 1 and 3. Or this is the entirety of everything between level 1 and 10. Maybe you leave room to wedge in other events because you want a general plan, but you want some adaptability. Maybe. So what happens between tip-off and the death of the religious mentor, the good guy of the organization, to the group? This can also be, if we look at our inspirations that we took from the characters that were handed to us. Rival affection, enemy of the faith, enemy leader of home country, member of the faith, fulfilling relationship, finding maturity. The kids want to. This is like Red Dawn. The kids want to help. They're stealing they're trying to steal. They're gonna have a heist of enemy vehicles, and maybe something can go wrong here as well. Or this could be the spark that really ignites the war inadvertently. So let's go down here and have this heist of enemy country vehicles / supplies. That goes wrong, question mark? Or you can just leave it open that it's successful and they don't know if it is necessarily right or wrong, or how it will end up. But this could get them in trouble. Maybe their mentor goes to try and negotiate for their release. The mentor's killed while the kids escape to go back, and there we go. Or they're betrayed because the organization is bad, but at some point we need to learn reformation of the organization after the bad guy is ousted. This could end up being then, this could be an easy follow-up, because here we find out the true identity of the BBEG as organization leader. Dun dun dun! 3 exclamation points! Ah! And of course that then goes on to lead to the Reformation after the big combat or whatever happens that the kids are doing, because they're the only ones who can get into the cloister where he's holed up or she's holed up or something. All right. And you see how this builds. You see how this grows. We can go through and add more midpoints. We can have more prompts. I wouldn't go too heavy into it. Keep them as milestones. Keep them as a lighthouse on the horizon, or the fish at the end of your line that you're trying to reel in, or a lighthouse you're navigating around rocks and waves and ghost ships and other stuff to get towards as safely as possible, but you got to do what you got to do. Look at this. We have a framing. It touches on about everything that that was brought up. We can make it more detailed. Look how easy this was. Now, let's say that you want a 3-act structure. You can break that up into as such. Or if this is a session by session plan for some reason, zoom in and say, all right, this is what we're going to do. We are going in with a strong color here. And we know that, from the runaway, maybe within a couple sessions, we'll have the build up and then the tension will release. But what we can do is we build up, then we build up, then we build up, and then we release down. And then we build up, we build up, we build up, and then we release down. If that's, if you can see it, that's a very thin line. This might be the sessions in between the milestones. If each is a 3-act part, every session or every couple sessions equal that, this is easier for you to be able to plot out, or to have that sense of, I wish, here, let's do this. Can I make the brush thicker? I need like 3 C's thick. I'd be happy with 2. I'll take 3 C's thick. Whatever. We have a rise in action generally before something happens, but all the while the tension is still rising, even though we do get those breaks and we get relief of things. And then, you know, at the end, we could study hero's journey and a lot of other things. And then, you know, the world is different. That they can never go back to the way life used to be. They've grown up. They've matured. They've accomplished the things that they've set out to do by playing their characters. But there's a lot of ways that we have wiggle room, and we can plot this out. We can plan for it. We can draw. We can put in little notes and carrots and sticky tabs and all this other stuff. It's super easy, and we're going one step at a time. We're not going, and we don't need a conspiracy board, and we don't need to sit and go, I don't know how this is going, where it's going. What are the themes that my players want to play? You know the themes your players want to play? They made characters to explore those themes. Your players told you what they want. Can you lean in every once in a while and let your hunter steal a car? Does that have to happen here? Or maybe it happens here? No, the best place for stealing a car is only here. False. It can happen along the way. You can make jokes about it. It can even happen in the background, except when it's really on the line. Your players have told you what interests them and what they think would be fun, and a way to carry you from point to point in this midpoint method of storytelling, or planning, I should say. Set a goal. What's the next goal? Get to it. What's the overarching goal? Get to it. Ultimately, we know that our runaways are going to need to find out that the organization they ran from is bad. That was pretty easy. But we didn't know at the time that there was going to be these 3 other steps. And really, there could be these other midpoints. Because what happens at this midpoint and this midpoint, and then this midpoint and then this midpoint. And then we come over here, and then we have this midpoint, and it could be something as easy as they meet this person for the first time, or something in the background. War is officially announced. It has nothing to do with the characters. They have no political control or religious control or anything, but that's a next point in the story that's crucial to bring out. Hi, Oni! Yeah, thank you for stopping by. OBS is working tonight, and so it's been a lot of fun as I've been going over this midpoint method for planning out story beats or milestones. Or if you want to get into the minutia of it, zoom in, enhance, zoom in and enhance, zoom in and enhance. And then you can do this one step at a time without overloading your thinky meats up here. Working is the best way to work. And I really do hope that it works for you all. And if not, adapt it in some other way. Again, do you need the 3-act arc structure? Do you need this? And then you build and build. It looks like a chart. Do your stonks always go up? They probably fall at some point in time. Do you plot it as it happens, and you don't hope to ratchet things up ahead of time? Or, you know, do you trust yourself to improvise, or do you need to make a big note that says, right here, make sure they meet so and so by this point. And maybe you have other notes about it, but you secretly know that they need to meet so and so by this point. It's not you're not going to reveal it, but to keep things going up here, it's good that it happens. Choose different colors, choose a different program. You buy a very expensive writing program or a subscription to something that's expensive or inexpensive or free or whatever. There's many ways to go about this, but now that you see the methodology, you've seen it play out. I've used OpenOffice and MS Paint in order to not do a lot of work. Because we had the original idea of, I want to tell a story kind of like this in a wartime setting with elements of conflict of faith. You gave your players free reign to make characters in the general consideration. They give you their characters. Whoa, all these are good hooks. Scribble, scribble. Let's get them in there. And now the story has what it needs. It's going to carry everyone ahead. They're all going to have opportunities to role play and combat and exercise their skills. And how hard did you think? We've spent an hour doing this, and we already have a full arc that can have that can have elements of coming of age, of love stories, of others or of self, of finding faith and losing faith, or a character having the full ability to just be super edgy edgelord, or go into, you know what, I've learned my lesson and I'm going to be a good citizen from here on out. It still gives them that flexibility, just like the fish feels that it has the freedom to swim around until it's finally pulled in. But they have all that line until they have less of it. That's part of the secret, too.